Welcome back to Level Up Russellville podcast. Today I want to talk about the compound effect. Now, most of what I'm going to be reading here and talking about is actually written from a good friend of mine and a former colleague, Antonio Amaral from London, England. At least that's where he lives now. He's a man of the world. He's been here and there. So thank you, Antonio, for contributing this to this episode. But he wrote about the compound effect, and I highly agree with pretty much everything he's written here. You know, our lives are made out of a series of small decisions that you have to make every single day that add up over time to shape who you are as a person. Everything from the way you speak to the job that you have is a result of the behaviors and the decisions you've made. Motivation, it comes and goes. So if you're relying on that as the thing that's going to propel you forward, you're going to struggle. You will always struggle. You may have a bout of energy here and there, these manic episodes of productivity, but motivation is only useful as a catalyst for change. Discipline, on the other hand, is the thing you need that will set up the cornerstone habits that you do every single day. Those habits are the ones that are going to move you forward and turn success into literally the only option for you. People that succeed are disciplined. Discipline is not fun either. It doesn't have to be horrible, but it's not a fun thing. It's doing something when your body and your mind is wanting to do anything but. For me, I struggle a lot with food. Food has been my enemy. Diet is the current thing I'm battling. Staying under a certain caloric intake. It is so hard, especially those last 500 calories. I countless times find myself just shoving food in and right before I go to bed or later on in the evenings and just basically saying, my goals are worthless. And because of that, I'm currently at a plateau with my physical goals. And that's something that I'm no longer at. Right? I'm beating that, but it's been something I've struggled with for a while. The thing that people struggle to understand is that it isn't the huge decisions in life that determine your fate. Who you marry, where you go to university, what age you move out of your parents' house, what career you choose. And they're all important decisions for sure, but they aren't the decisions that you make overnight, nor are they the type of things that find you in life that find you in life without you taking smaller steps towards those decisions. What actually determines your life are those small things, like not eating those last 500 calories in the day, or going to the gym when you don't feel like it, making those 5 extra outreach messages to a client or networking with people, being consistent with things like content, reading that book, talking to that person you think is cute, but you haven't mustered the bravery or the strength to do so. Having that difficult conversation that you've been avoiding because the situation isn't bad enough to overcome the discomfort that it will bring. That's a big one, I think, for a lot of people, is just getting over those uncomfortable situations. I try to make decisions rapidly through my day, from the amount of meetings I have in a single day to, I was just interviewing a lady earlier today, actually. I doubt she'll listen to this. She had mass applied to a bunch of jobs on Indeed and didn't even know what job she was interviewing for at the time. And very quickly, I just, said, hey, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you. And I told her why. Like, I had asked her questions, what are you looking for? And she had described, frankly, the quite opposite of what this role would be. I could have let that interview drag on for 30 or 45 minutes, but frankly, our time is better spent elsewhere, both of ours. So, all of these small decisions, they can seem inconsequential, but they add up. It builds this compound effect, right? Just like me trying to lose a little bit more weight. Every single calorie that I eat that goes past my limit is having a compound effect. No single snack at night is my undoing, but it's the continuation of these bad decisions. Now, I want to do a whole other episode about decision making because decisions are incredibly important to master as an entrepreneur and someone that's driving yourself. But we're not going to get too far into that in this episode. Now, discipline versus motivation. Again, motivation is the reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way, usually stemming from external. Maybe you saw a video on Instagram, a video somewhere else, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to carry the boats, with David Goggins, or I'm ready to start that business, or really hone in tonight and study for that exam. And discipline is showing a controlled form of behavior or way of working, and it can only come from internally. There's nobody that is going to make me, eat a certain amount of food a day. There's nobody that's going to make you study for that test. And frankly, most people don't even care. Like, they don't care what you, and there's a lot of freedom in that. I would wager, besides your parents, maybe your spouse, like, nobody cares, right? You're an adult. You can make your own decisions. So the fundamental difference between motivation and discipline is where they come from. One comes from things that you see or that happen to you, and the other comes from you. And when you're dependent on external circumstances or other people or what you see, you can't rely on those staying consistent. You're not going to see that same video every day. You can't rely on that same feeling of motivation to hit you every single morning when you wake up, because there's going to be that morning, maybe even the next day, where you're tired. Like, this morning was one of those mornings for me where I was just tired. I didn't go to the gym in the morning, so I'm about to go right after I finish recording this. Get in, get it done. And it sucks that I waited this long in the day to do it, but hey, we got to do it. So you have to develop the discipline to be doing specific things every day that add up over time to make you better. For me, it's waking up early, reading, working out. And there's these mornings where you can't get it done, or you don't get it done, but you have to take accountability for that. So what are you doing every single day that's making you better? You don't have to start with the whole kitchen sink, but what can you start doing today that's going to make you better over a certain amount of time? What are those really high leverage things you think will move you towards your goal just a little bit quicker? The more you do those things, the better you get at them, the easier they become to do, and the more lessons add up from one experience to the next. Motivated people work 15-hour days for a week and then do nothing for the next. Disciplined people work 10-hour days in deep focus states and keep it going for months at a time. You can make progress with motivation, but you will always make more progress over time with discipline. Now, when it comes to tracking your results, tracking your progress, I'm a big fan of gamifying the system, right? Whether that's a spreadsheet, a Notion page, whatever it is, keeping track of things so you can actually hold yourself accountable. Or maybe you need to find a buddy to be accountable with, right? Those, you can find plenty of those online. You can find them in your life. I would recommend going outside of your current friend group, because friends, depending on your friends, sometimes they don't want to see you change. That's not because they don't like you. It's because for them to see you change in certain ways make them uncomfortable about the way they live their lives. And I've been in that situation too, where I've seen a friend change for the better, and very selfishly, it's a very human thing, I don't want to see that, because then they're becoming a different person, right? They're challenging the status quo, challenging me, challenging how I need them as a friend, right? Because we, even in great friendships, we're using each other for some sort of purpose, even though that sounds really bad. That's kind of what humans do. Maybe it's just the purpose of having a really great friend you care about, but as they change, it's scary. So I found a lot of great luck in finding people to have accountability partners with that don't already know me, that are on similar paths, because we're here for the same reason. And if someone is a good enough friend and you value them enough, you can still change and be their friend. It may just take longer to bridge that gap. And there are friends I have that are like that, where I'll be friends with them, even though maybe for now we're not as close as we were. Maybe there's some issues, not even issues, but I'm going a different way in my life where I don't have the same interests anymore, or I don't have the time to pursue the activities we used to pursue as much. But I'm still keeping them as a friend, because I know that over time we will slowly be able to come back together. And that, it kind of sucks in the short term, but anyways, you have to have the discipline to see that through. So again, the daily micro decisions you make will determine the person you become. Focus on discipline and use motivation only for that spark to develop discipline. Keep track of all your progress. You write it down somewhere. Use a system. If you want a free system, you shoot me an email at tal@lvluprsvl.com, tal@leveluprussville.com, and I'll send you a free accountability tracking system that you can use. I have plenty of these things made up. Become the type of person that makes things happen. Don't be a victim or the type of person that life happens to. I'm not saying there's not such a thing as victims in this life, because you can be a victim, but often it's how you perceive the things that have happened to you, right? I understand there's some horrible things that can happen to you in this life. And it may not be as easy as just saying that, but you truly are in charge of how you're in charge of your own reality. The way you perceive things sets the undertone for the rest of what's to come. When it rains, it pours. So once it starts to get easy, it really gets easy. So just stick it out, get in there, get consistent, get disciplined. And thank you for listening. This has been one of the solo episodes of the Level Up Russellville podcast. I don't know what we're going to call these little things, but I like them. I like being here one-on-one with you and talking about lessons I've learned and sharing this. Again, this lesson from my friend Antonio from London. Thank you, Antonio, for this. It's a good reminder to read for myself sometimes and just reanalyze the things I'm doing and the decisions I'm making. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.